Hi, welcome to the first Coffee and Chat. In these chat sessions, we'll be discussing topics regarding bag making. For today's chat, we will be talking about sewing tools you need to make your own bag. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Anne. I am a self-taught bag maker and I've been making bags for the past 3 years. I'm here to share with you some of what I have learned so far for the past 3 years, as well as give you some tips and guide on how you can start making your own bag at home on your sewing machine. Grab your tea or coffee and come join me in today's chat session. Before I show you what tools you need, I want to say that these tools are geared towards making bag using cotton materials. Cotton materials such as cotton canvas, duck canvas fabric, okay? I have not made a bag using leather, corks, or vinyls, so I can't give you sewing tips or guide on what sewing tools you need for those. All right, now back to the topics. The first and most important sewing tool you ever need is a sewing machine. Get one that could do straight stitch as well as heavy duty sewing, because there will be points where you will be sewing over multiple layers of fabric. Now, that doesn't mean you go out there and splurge on an expensive industrial sewing machines. Go on Craigslist, go on Facebook Marketplace, and get yourself a used one. The second tool you will need are rulers. Any basic one should do. Here's one I have that is a foot-long ruler that I use to this day to cut out all my fabric pieces. If you have a big fabric piece, you could also use a simple basic yardsticks. You don't need much. Don't buy expensive rulers. But if you really want to, I recommend a quilting ruler like this one. Don't get a 6x12. If you're gonna buy one of these, get a 6x18 or a 6x24. Because I learned that this ruler is a little too short for my fabric piece sometimes, and I sometimes wish that I have that extra length to cut my pattern out. Third tools you will need are cutting tools like scissors. You do not need fancy fabric scissors to start out with. You could just get a basic one like a paper scissor. Once you get it, do not use it for papers. Get a brand new one, save it only for fabric, because once you cut fabric, it will dull the blade. You can't use it for paper. If you're gonna buy a fabric scissor, look for one that has a flat end, a flat that is parallel to the handle. That way it makes cutting your fabric a lot easier. Like, let me show you. So if you look at here, you see how it's parallel to the handle-ish. When you cut, this is what you have to do, right? So it's a lot easier versus if you get a regular scissor, it's not that close to the parallel. And so when you cut fabric, especially if you stack them and cut them in multiple layers, it's gonna slip. The fabric will slip and then you're not gonna get even equal cuts. If you are gonna cut a lot of pieces and a lot of fabric and make a lot of bags, and by a lot I mean like more than 50, hundreds, you might want to invest in a roller cutter, okay? This roller cutter is a 45 millimeters. It comes in a larger size, I believe, but I have small hands. Look, my hand is very small, so this one works great for my grips and ergonomics. If you have bigger hand, you might want to consider getting the bigger version of the roller cutters. Now, if you decide to use a roller cutter to cut your bag pattern, make sure you have a straight edge to run the blades against. I have no idea how you can freehand with this roller blades. I try to freehand cut fabric using just this roller cutter and I have failed badly. I can't cut straight without a straight edge. The fourth tool you'll need are markers. Any marker will do. You do not need fancy fabric markers. My favorite to this day are a pencil and a pen. This is a Papermate flare tipped pen. I love this. It's glide on the fabric like butter, and I use it. Although these pens are permanent. If you want to get fabric markers, honestly, I have not used them, so I don't know how well they works. I have read a lot of negative review as well as good reviews, so it's up to you to try what's worked for you. What I found works are chalk pens. These is a Clover chalk pen. When you mark on your fabric, chalk pens are great. They come off, they're easy to put on. If you are going to use a lot of dark fabric, like a black fabric or a dark blue, dark navy, dark gray, a black pen and a pencil will not work because you will not be able to see the line you mark. So a chalk pen that is in white work in that cases. The fifth tool you will need are clips to hold your pieces together. Now you could buy sewing pins or sewing clips. I cannot figure out how to use sewing pins. I always poke on my finger whenever I use a sewing pins. So what I use are binder clips. Of course, you could buy sewing clips as well, but binder clips work great. All different size. I already have them around the house, and I've been using them since I first learned how to make bags, and I have no issue with them. The sixth tool you will need is a basic iron. Any iron should do. You do not need it to have a steaming mode. If you need to steam your fabric and you have an iron that does not have a steaming mode, all you have to do is put water in a spray bottle and then spray on your fabric, then iron over it, and it works. Along with the iron, you definitely need an iron mat. So what I found that's helped for me is this Quilter Cut and Press iron mat and cutting mat combo, 2-in-1. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to mention earlier that if you are gonna use a roller cutter, you need a cutting mat. If you don't have a cutting mat and you use this roller cutter, whatever surface you cut on will get scratches from this blade. So if you're gonna use that tool, make sure you get a cutting mat. Let's pause for a second. And let me mention this. The first 6 tools that I just listed is all you need. You do not need anything else to start making bags, honestly. There's so many tools out there for every single part of bag making that is helpful, but it's not a necessity. So that's the minimum that you need. What I'm going to discuss next is just some tools that I found very helpful that I think would be nice to have, but it's not needed. Okay? So feel free to get them if you want. But what I recommend for beginners is just buy the minimum. Don't go out and buy every tools you ever need because who knows, you might not like bag making. 7 tools that I found very handy is this combo creaser and point turning tools. Point turning tool, creaser. The creaser side is handy if you're making like a really small pouch that you just need to crease or some fabric that you can't iron on. Turning side is handy in that you could use it to turn out the box corner of your bags. The 8th tool that I found very handy is a seam ripper. It's a lifesaver. You make a sewing mistakes. Seam rippers come in handy so that you could rip out all your stitches and redo them. I have made many mistakes when I sew, and to this day I still make mistakes. So every time I make mistakes, I pull out the seam rippers and I rip out all those thread that I just sewed through and then redo the pieces. So this is like a magic eraser that allows you to restart and correct your mistakes. And that's it. That's all the sewing tools I find very helpful and that I use every day when I sew a bag. I hope you find this sessions very helpful and you enjoy sitting here and having a coffee or tea and chatting with me. If you have any questions or topics you want me to discuss in my next coffee and chat sessions, leave me a comment down below.